Is everybody excited?
Woo!
Yeah, marginally so. So I'm Robert, and we're going to kick off with a poll. How long have you been using Liquibase? Nathan, you cannot answer.
Too bad.
It would be less than 6 months, right? Something like that.
So we'd like to get an idea of how long the folks that are joining us today have been using Liquibase so that we can prepare scintillating and powerful content for you all.
We've prepared multiple tracks.
Okay, all right, there we go. All right, so we got pros. If you've been using it for 6 months, you're pro. I'm counting it. You've solved problems, you're using it. So let's go ahead and start off with some introductions. Nathan, you want to say hi?
Hi, Nathan. I started Liquibase more than 6 months ago.
Kevin?
I am Kevin. I lead the engineering and community teams.
Ronak. Is Ronak joining us?
Ronak is AWOL.
Oh, there he is.
Okay. We needed to update this slide. I'm sorry, that's on me. Caroline.
Hey, how's it going?
Caroline is our user community manager. So she is the person that you want to talk with about any challenges or help with Liquibase and getting access to resources. Mike, are you there, buddy?
Yep, I'm here. I'm your developer-friendly neighborhood developer advocate working in the community.
I'm Robert. I'm CTO. And Mario.
I am product manager for Liquibase Pro.
Well, welcome all. Welcome. Now, here's our agenda. We're going to go over a little product update. Man, we have got some cool stuff to share today. And Mario is going to be taking us through that. We're going to do some updates about the community. And our community team is going to be taking us through that. And we have a special guest, Sanjay Sharma. Say hi, Sanjeev.
Hey everybody, glad to meet you. My name is Sanjeev. I guess you see my title over there. I work for Truist Bank. I just started there, so won't be talking much about Truist. By background, I've been in the DevOps space for, well, since the early days of DevOps.
Mm-hmm.
And I call Robert a good friend.
Well, thank you. I feel the same way. So Sanjeev, this is really interesting, and I'm super excited to have him here because previously he was over at IBM. While I was there, wrote a couple of books about DevOps, and then joined Delphix, and then which is a database virtualization company that we partner with at Liquibase. Also partnered with our friends at IBM and Urban Code, and and DB2, of course. But also spent some time with Accelerated
Strategies.
Strategies Group. I'm sorry, thank you. And now he's over working at a bank. And this is a really cool story, and we're going to get into that. We're certainly going to have open Q&A. So get ready with your questions. There's a widget in the Zoom app for asking questions. Please send them in now. And we might answer them in the middle of the presentation as well. So keep them coming, folks. So Mario, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you because you've got this awesome update. So take it away, man.
Indeed, and just to prepare you, Robert, I'll be using the code word next, which will mean go to the next slide.
Okay, so next means next slide. Got it. Thank you.
So we will be talking about Liquibase Hub, which is a brand new offering, which you can get in on the early access. There's a link at the bottom of the screen. This is a SaaS offering that allows status and monitoring and updates. So we're going to talk real quickly about how to get started, why it's worth it, and we're going to check out some screens next.
Wait a minute. How much is this going to cost?
I hear it's free.
What?
Yeah. If you want to move to the next screen, we can talk about some of those pieces. It is very easy to get started. Not only is it free, but you really only have to do two things. You go sign up and get your API key. And then next, you take that API key, next, and you
Oh,
link it-
next slide. Okay, sorry.
and you add that API key to your Liquibase properties. It's just a new property. It's as simple as that. And then next slide, you run a new command called register changelog, and that will connect your local Liquibase work to your hub work. And that will all be made clear in another moment. Next slide. So why would you want to do all this? So which is really the question on how to do it. So Hub lets you, I won't read this totally to you, but I'll read you the kind of key parts. It lets you monitor your database changes that are done by anybody, anywhere in all of your team. And this is not something that you can do right now. So as a Liquibase users, you know that it is a CLI or Maven tool that's often embedded into CI/CD flow. And you really don't know what other people have done if you aren't reading all the change logs or reading all the logs. So Liquibase handles that, and it's really awesome. It also has a couple of new concepts which will help you collect all your key Liquibase elements. So, you've got properties files and change logs and change sets and connections and all that sort of stuff. When you use Liquibase with a registered change log, it sends that up to Hub, and it makes it easy to understand how those pieces go together. And really, you do all that so that you can look at the operations and DevOps reports. You can see these are the changes that flow through this sequence of connections, so these sequence of databases, and here's the who and the what and the when of what happened. Next. And feel free to add a question anywhere in the chat, or we'll get to it either at the end of these slides or next. So simple as that. You click the sign in button, next. You'll see an API key. You'll hit the copy button, next. You will go add it to your Liquibase properties. Then you will run here, as you see, Liquibase register changelog. It will give you a little UI. You can see down there, you can create a new project or use one of your existing projects. When you sign up, you automatically get a project created for you, but you can make new ones. In this case, I made a new one called Hub Demo, next. And then I just ran regular things. I just used Liquibase like normal. That's all it required. Grab the API key, register changelog. Yep.
So let me get this straight. So I can be using Liquibase for years. Get the latest version of Liquibase, sign up for the account, and then when I register the changelog, that's all I got to do. And then from that going forward, all my changes are going to be stored in Hub, and I can generate reports. I don't have to change anything else.
Right. You need those two things. You need your key, and you need to register your changelog. And just to be very specific, if you use the master XML kind of nested child changelog system, you just register the top one, and it will track all that for you. So here we're looking at a screen inside Hub. You can see on the left-hand side, there's a navigation that has a couple of projects. So Hub Demo is a project, Mario Champion is a project. Under each one are those kind of key elements I was talking about: operations, change logs, change sets, connections. Early access, this nav may change a bit, but so you can see here, imagine I've clicked down there on that row called update. Next slide. And you will see that it is now inside that update. So this update to this JDB string up here at the top at 100 change sets, it's captured the IDs and the file names and the authors and the comments. And over on the right-hand side, it's captured whether it was successful or something failed. Go to the next slide. And you'll see that if you clicked on any of those change sets, it actually goes into the detail. So I can see what was in the change set body. I can see the generated SQL. If there's logs, I can see that. Next.
So, well, hold on. So like, let's say I run an update with Liquibase, something looks weird. I can have a teammate look at Liquibase Hub to see the results and see if they can diagnose it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's awesome is that it could be, you could really take a role that's instead of a DBA looking at things, wondering if they're going to work or not, and then giving permission. If you're doing this on your dev environment and you have trouble, you can just have your teammate who's also in Liquibase Hub come check it out. And it's super easy to find, and I don't have to share anything with you. Like permissions wise, we're just part of the same organization.
Cool.
Yeah, next slide. So you can see here, I've run a bunch more operations. You can see the timestamps on them. What I'm pointing out here is one on the right that failed. So I ran a rollback on a changelog that had been a SQL changelog where I had not included a rollback, and that rollback failed. It couldn't actually do rollback count 3 on a formatted SQL log. I then ran an XML change log and did a rollback on it. You see over on the left-hand side that it has a different icon and a different title, and over on the right-hand side, it worked. And this is super handy for anybody in my team, anywhere in the world, to come see what I've done. Next slide. So we'll jump back to the nav. So beyond looking at operations, I can look at my change logs. As you can imagine, you can click on these and get more detail about these change logs. These are some change logs I ran. Next slide. Down in the connections, you can see all of your connections that have been run in this project. So some of these are H2, one of these is MySQL. You can click in and get more detail on stuff on your change logs and on your connections. The exciting bit that you'll want to, that's coming soon, is that you'll be able to sort these connections into a pipeline. So instead of just having a singular view, you'll be able to see, oh, on my dev, these change sets worked. On my UAT, these worked. On my production, uh-oh, I got a big X. And then you'll be able to drill in, and that will be super handy. Last thing I want to show you, next slide, is, so there's an overview. Looking again at the furthest left, rather than per project, I can look at everything that I've done. There's actually one more slide. Next. And talking about organizations and projects, I can add organizations, I can add projects, think of it like GitHub and repos, and organizations in GitHub. I got my personal organization where I do my stuff. I'm part of the Liquibase organization where I do that stuff. So I can really collect and sort all of my stuff together in a way that is just not possible now, which is, if you're a Liquibase user, you know that it can be a lot of stuff. So with that, I see there are some things in chat. I don't know if these are related to me or not. Oh yeah, the call to action. Forgot that part, I'm not a marketer. Go there, sign up. You'll get early access, which could be as soon as, it's soon. Maybe next week, maybe the week after, but sign up now and we will let you know when you'll be able to go play with it, and we'll be loving your feedback.
So yeah, this is the time to provide feedback and to get the things added to Hub that you would like to see as a Liquibase user. This works with Community, works with Pro, and I'm sorry?
It works with CLI and it works with Maven.
Yeah. So, the thing is, folks, is that this is also an opportunity to elevate in your organization what you're doing with Liquibase. So everybody that's on this meetup is using Liquibase, and you're using it for a reason. But the thing is that most of the folks that are dependent on it don't know that it's happening. It's just magic happens to the database schema. All right, problems are solved. And so this is an opportunity, especially with those reports, to be able to generate them and share them with the team and to give management insight into what's going on. This is where you could start getting KPIs, key metrics that Dr. Forsgren talks about. This is where you get to say, hey, we implemented Liquibase for a reason. Let me show you, because it's certainly a lot better than the CLI or a Jenkins build output or something like that. That's valuable, but this is for mere mortals to be able to look at and understand what's happening to that database.
Yeah, if I could add like 3 sentences. For developers, it is great to know where things have happened in your flow, and you don't have to keep it all in your head. It's stored automatically for you. For managers, it's great to see who's doing what within all of my teams, not just like who's more productive and who's not, but like when people have errors, what causes them, the things I can learn about that. And then broadly, if you're on a team, if you're not the only one working on your project, this would still be useful if you're the only one, but especially when you're on a team. If Robert makes changes to something on my pipeline and they work or don't work, I would love to know.
They probably won't work.
But we don't have a blame function like GitHub yet, but
not yet.
We'll work that in. But yeah, if you're any of those 3 people on a team, a dev or a manager, this should really answer some questions for you.
All right, that's cool. All right, folks, you got no excuse. Go check it out. Go sign up. Thanks, Mario. Appreciate it, man. That looks good.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So now we're going to chat. We're going to shift gears a little bit to the community corner. And so, Caroline, you're up first.
Hello. Yeah, so I believe Maureen's actually on this as well. So hello,
Hi,
Maureen.
Maureen.
You're on here. Yeah, so if you joined our meetup last month, you might have remembered me talking about Isaiah Dixon, who is from Nairobi, Kenya. He makes videos about Liquibase and other technologies. About a month ago, we came across an article posted on Medium about getting started with Liquibase, and it was really well done. It was super concise, really clear, really simple to understand. So we reached out to the author, and that's who I'm spotlighting today, Maureen. Welcome again. So we had the pleasure to meet with Maureen over Zoom, and if the world wasn't already small enough, she too is from Nairobi, Kenya. It doesn't surprise me that people are using Liquibase in Kenya, and I mean, after all, people are using it all over the world, based on all the people we've been meeting. But it's cool because her and Isaiah actually happen to work for the same company, just at different times. So it just makes that world even smaller and smaller and smaller. But Maureen currently works for a company that's trying to provide a better platform for healthcare. Liquibase was introduced to her by her coworkers, and so they were already using Liquibase at the time, and they were using it with MySQL. And she's been using it herself for less than a year. But after kind of getting the lay of the land from them, she really dived into our documentation. And then eventually she wrote this really great getting started article, mainly just because she wanted to help other people who were at the same starting point as her and save them time. Rather than them having to kind of dive into documentation, she just wanted to make something that was comprehensive for them so that they could save time on their own as well. She has since seen our fundamentals course as well. She mentioned she saw it on Twitter and she's working through it herself. So now we have that resource, so it helps too. But we are trying to find more ways for her to write about Liquibase and her experience. And who knows, maybe a Kenya community meetup is in our future. If we can get more people from Kenya who are also willing to participate, that'd be super awesome. One thing that she did mention, she would like more examples of YAML. So if you're out there using YAML with Liquibase and want to write, let's chat about it. But you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Robert, I'll kind of talk a little bit more about how you can actually get involved if you're interested more. So if you'd like to get more involved with Liquibase in general, there's tons of ways to contribute to our community. Mike, who's on here, will talk a little bit more about this and some plans that we have in October, but a great way is becoming kind of a community developer is what we're calling them. You can jump in, fix issues, bugs, create a pull request. You can enhance existing features or even build something new. You can create a Liquibase extension. So many awesome things that you can be doing if you'd like to contribute. Obviously, you can contribute content in any way that you see. We have people like Isaiah making YouTube videos, Maureen's writing great articles. Write about a community requested topic. We do have a handful of them. We're making a list, make a video about it. You can also help improve our documentation. I have a list with that as well that we'll have posted on our webpage as well soon. And then also Ronak will jump a little bit more into this too. He is on the call now, by the way, he did join. You can help answer questions in Stack Overflow. Our Liquibase forum is also a really great resource. We're really trying to encourage our users to start asking questions in the forum. That way other people who may have the same question can go in and see it as well and maybe get that help. And then I always like to say Discord channel, it's great. We have lots of people that are floating in there day and night, depending on where they live across the world, helping answer questions. And so we're grateful for people in the community that are hanging out there, helping us answer questions. But if you have questions, if you go to our contact page, you can see all the different ways that you can reach out to us. My Twitter handle is down there too. Always feel free to DM me at any time. But I'll pass the next one off to Ronak.
Hey folks, sorry for joining in late. All right, so what I wanted to talk about today is in the community team, I'm sort of organizing, I'm the leader for support, and I have some pretty cool news. Actually, speaking of Discord, I have two members there, Costin and listed as Hope99, but Asha on the call right now has joined us. Jeff Pell is also on the call too. So I too brought a posse of community help. It was just me, you know, a couple of them supported by all the wonderful people in the company, and now we're growing. And please join us. As Caroline mentioned, we're on the forum. We're also on Discord. We have a channel. The room, unsurprisingly, is just called support. Join us, find out how you can help, or just lurk if you want, you know. And my Twitter handle also is on the lower right. I'd be happy to talk with y'all. That's it all. That's all for me.
Cool. Thank you. Mike.
Hey folks, thanks for joining today. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about our community hackathon. We're planning on pairing up with DigitalOcean's month-long Hacktoberfest. So you'll start to see some information out with the hashtag Liquibase and Hacktoberfest. We're going to run it just like DigitalOcean with the entire month of October. So giving you plenty of time to kind of get your PRs, getting your updates in. We're looking for everyone to kind of help, whether you're a developer, whether you're a supporter, whether you're a content contributor and writing great information about Liquibase. We're going to be giving out stickers and other cool prizes, and also top prizes to the top contributors in there. For instance, we'll have issues tagged with the Hacktoberfest label, and there'll be plenty of things for you to do. Just contact us, reach out to me on GitHub, or even on Twitter. My Twitter handle there is at the bottom, and stay tuned for more information as we roll this out.
That's going to be cool, man. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to let y'all know that we're a big fan of experiments here at Liquibase, and we are going to run an experiment. We're going to change the format of these meetups. We're going to take, this meetup really has two components to it. There's the question and answer part, and we're going to break that off into a separate meetup, and we're going to call it Community Roundtable. It's going to be an open forum discussion in Zoom. You'll get to meet other community members in this new format, as well as the Liquibase community team. So it won't just be the 9 of us on the screen, or I'm sorry, 8 of us on the screen that you'll see. We'll get to all see each other, and we'll get to meet each other, and we'll get to share questions that everybody has, and then obviously everybody can share their feedback and insights. So looking forward, we did forward to that next month. We did do an inaugural one to test it out this month. It went really well. So October 8th. You'll be able to sign up before that, but October 8th will be our next one. We're going to take more the informational side of this meetup, and we're going to turn that into what we're going to call the community updates. We're going to change this meetup to an on-demand video. We're going to have all the good information that you're getting from the community team and from Mario and product, and anybody else that has things that they need to they want to share from Liquibase. We're also going to add a section around the community. We're going to find key contributions and community stories to share with y'all. And so keep an eye out for that next month. We'll be posting that on YouTube, and you'll be able to subscribe to that and get those as they come out. So thank you.
Cool. Thanks, man. And so next we're going to have a little chat with our friend Sanjay Sharma. So, you know, as I was saying earlier, you know, Sanjeev, you know, you started when we were hanging out, you know, first started getting to know each other. You were over at IBM working with Urban Code. You're CTO for DevOps over there. And then you went over to Delphix, which does database virtualization. You were a consultant and analyst for a while, and now you're in charge of kind of a big deal at a bank. So what's it like going from selling software to buying software? How's that transition going for you?
Well, first of all, Robert, it's great to be here. Thank you. And you have a great team, and I can see how much fun you guys have. I need a more interesting background than books, you know, like what you have. So yeah, I mean, well, to put it very, it is my first time sitting on this side of the table, right? I used to work for a bank many Linux versions ago when I was a developer, but it is different to be sitting on actually implementation, acquiring software, implementing it. It does feel good to have the budget, right? Usually, when I was on the other side, I was the guy asking people, "Do you have a budget for this project you are telling me to work on and give you all this free stuff for?" Which you and I will talk about later on, Robert. But you know, it does feel good to be implementing stuff and seeing. Now, for those of you who don't know Truist, it's a name. Even when I first heard of it, I had to look up what was Truist, right? It is a new bank that was created last year by the merger of BB&T and SunTrust. So it's a merger of two mid-sized banks, which has created the sixth largest bank in the US. So that's the exciting part, right? We're in the middle of a merger. We're in the middle of a transformation. And, when was the last time a bank entered the top 10 list at number 6, right? The last time a bank became number 6 was when it fell from number 5. Right? Since then, there's been not that much shakeup in the top 10 list, and this merger has resulted in that. So it is an exciting place to be, and to be able to really have an impact, right? Of all the work I've done before in my previous roles, working with some very large enterprises around the world, but to actually come here and implement it. So it's fun. It's good to see the sheer size of the organization from the inside. It is a change. It is fun. I've just been here 6 weeks, so I am won't be able to answer any questions about how we do things or what we've achieved. We're just getting started.
For sure. Well, I imagine with the merger, you're going to have some serious challenges around automation, the platform, because a lot of these different divisions, even different teams inside BB&T, inside SunTrust, had different issue tracking systems or different whatever ways of automating. And so I assume you're going to be looking around and saying, okay, this is the best, we're going to stick on this one, we're going to have to switch to that one. Is that going to be the focus, getting it on one, or is it going to be a different focus?
Well, one of the things, we all know is when you're talking about an organization this big, even if we looked at the individual banks before the merger, most large enterprises, whether they're a bank or a telco or a healthcare company, they're not homogeneous. They're not monolithic, right? I used to joke when I was at IBM and I would be visiting one of my large clients that if I got off of the wrong floor at the elevator, when we still did elevators and stuff, when you got off at the wrong floor at the elevator, right? Sometimes I think I'm in the right company. Floor to floor, different divisions of the company would have different cultures, right? You walk in one and it's all green screens. You get off the next floor and they've got these, high-tech monitors and, open floor plans with rolling whiteboards and Kanban boards and everything. So, and that's true for any large enterprise. So it's not just a, question of, yes, we are blending two organizations together, which are very different technology stacks, very different cultures, even within them, right? Technology stacks vary. And we're not going to get ever to one standard. That's, unreasonable. It never happens at a large company, but you got to converge, right? You got to converge from where you are. And even if I was in a bank which was not going through a merger, we would find the same challenges, that there's such a diversity of technology stacks. And we all know, as an industry, in the IT industry, we are great at adding new technologies, but we absolutely suck at retiring old technologies, right? I won't tell you which state, but there's a state here in the United States where their toll collection system of the entire state, of every highway on the state, still runs on Power Builder.
It's
right?
New Jersey.
And there's two engineers supporting the whole thing, right? And
I bet it's New Jersey.
Yeah, and I'm not saying anything. I name and shame states. I might be passing through there one day. So it's not the state I live in. Hello.
Okay.
And so we are horrible at retiring it, right? And a lot of times the case is, hey, it's not broken. Why should I change?
Yeah.
The difference in a merger is that scenario goes away. Saying, why should I change? Well, you have to change. There's a merger going on.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part, right? We have an opportunity, like a lot of if it was steady state, it might or might not have been there.
Well, how does, I mean, look, I've seen you operate with customers, and I know that you're a huge fan of value stream mapping. And for those that don't know, value stream mapping is where you look at your release process, identify all the steps, and, then tie step A to B with amount of time, and then do the next one. And sometimes they're in parallel, sometimes they're serial. And at the end, you get to find out which step takes the most time, which is the biggest bottleneck. And that tells you where to focus. But I've seen a lot of folks struggling with value stream mapping. For folks that know that they need to implement DevOps and are struggling with identifying areas, what would you coach them on, getting started with value stream mapping at their organization?
Well, as you know, value stream mapping is not a new technique. It's been around since the days of, Lean and with Deming, and you go back then. In fact, recently somebody forwarded me a LinkedIn profile of somebody else who I shall remain nameless. And his LinkedIn profile actually says he invented value stream mapping. And I'm looking at the guy saying, unless you're 85 years old, you didn't do it, right? But, it's nothing new. What
LinkedIn has become the corporate version of Instagram.
Yeah.
I mean,
what we just took some of these lean principles and lean techniques like value stream mapping and applied them to application delivery. Where people fail or people fall down is that they don't, value stream mapping was invented originally for factories, right? You take a factory and you do the Toyota method and you say, okay, where can I make this process leaner, right? And it has been adapted for other business process operations. The challenge with software delivery, where it diverges away from a factory or a business process model, is that it is not repetitive. The developer is not writing the same code every time. Yes, I might be running the same tests every time, but even that test corpus grows over time as I add more functionality. So every time a developer or a team of developers is working on adding a new feature, they're adding new code. It's a new set of capabilities, right? It's not identical to the previous widget that went through the assembly line like it does in a factory. Like, so if I'm assembling a car, every door better be the same, otherwise we'll get some very freaky cars. So every door is the same, which means I can improve the process based on what I learned the previous time. Because the next door is also going to be the same unless I'm moving to a new model. That's not true for software delivery. So people who try to do very detailed value stream mapping exercises where they're spending hours and hours trying to outlay, hey, how much time did you spend on this? It doesn't work.
So so be flexible, understand there's going to be some variance.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what you have to do is focus at the big animal picture level, right? Where you say, okay, what are the artifacts that are flowing through my value stream? What environments and tools does those artifacts flow through? Who are the stakeholders who touch or are responsible, do a RACI, for those artifacts? And then look for three kinds of bottlenecks. Look for wait times, where I am waiting for somebody else to do something and I cannot proceed till that person does it. It's a blocker. Where there is rework, which means somebody sends me an artifact and I can't use it. That means I have to rework it or send it back to them to say, you didn't do it the right way. And that's usually because my process is not well defined. Or there is waste. It's just sheer waste. And you see that a lot in large enterprises where there is layer upon layer upon layer of processes which get added over time. And nobody removes old steps and gates because nobody wants to take the risk of saying, I won't do this anymore. We don't think we need it. So, you have to operate at that level. And when value stream mapping is done like that, it becomes really effective. It should not take you more than half a day to create a value stream map at this level of granularity for an entire application end to end. And if it does, you're going into too much in the weeds, right? And then you go drill down and say, why is there this waste, wait, and rework? What is the root cause of it? Then you address it, look for mitigation. And so it's a layered upon layered process, but I hope I explained the distinction between value stream map, the formal process, versus value stream mapping as you need to do it for application delivery.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, look, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I think we've got questions and answers coming up next. Do you mind sticking around? Maybe there's a question for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. Let's go ahead and look at our questions here. So I'm not seeing any in the widget. Let's go ahead and go to chat, and team, jump in here if there's any questions.
I actually have a question for you, Sanjeev.
Oh, please.
So as a product person, I end up on phone calls with customers who are trying things or who have been trying things. And, I'll pull this number a little bit out of the air, but I'm going to say a third of the time the troubles are social and cultural. They're not technical at all. And often, most of that time, they know it. but they have a real difficulty in addressing that and saying, we should use X, Y, and Z, or we're paying for this, but we really just can't get into our system because we don't want to take the time to rework our system. Any insights, any ways to help people shift that culture and their social policy?
Well, you nailed it, right? The biggest impediment to change is always cultural inertia, right? People coming and saying, hey, this is not my responsibility, or hey, it already works, it's not broken. Yeah. Or, no, until you get that other team to change, I won't change. It's that, or people just saying, giving it, a voice over, what's it called, voice service, and saying, yes, I'm on this till next week. And, 2 weeks later, nothing has happened. That requires both a top-down and a bottom-up approach to fix. Unless they see that top-down, executives are willing to put their money where the mouth is, right? And not just talk about it, but actually fund it. And also change how incentives are given. So people are incented to change. It won't, things won't happen. And then bottom up, are they creating a culture where people are allowed to experiment, are allowed to step out of their boundary and collaborate with the person on the other side of the wall, right? And, step beyond their team's responsibilities. And I'll give you an example. I remember working with a client once, and the lead of the team I was working with, he kept saying that, I report to the wrong manager. The manager I report to doesn't care about this project at all. He's not measured on it, because of which every time I work on it, he pushes back on it, although this is my project. That's a cultural issue. That's an organizational issue that needs to change, right? So are you implementing these cross-functional squad models, right? Are you implementing guilds? Are you implementing, these new models, right? Whether you're using the pure Spotify squad tribe guild model, or you're getting more, advanced and going into something like team topologies from the team topologies book, whose author's name is, I'm drawing a complete blank on, I apologize. But you know which one I'm talking about, Google it, team topologies. And, but that teaming model is also just not enough. There has to be buy-in at every level. There has to be buy-in at the executive level, and there have to be incentives put in place to allow people to work and not hurt themselves by doing the right thing.
It's a good answer. And we've always discussed with them, who's your champion from the top, who's your drivers from the bottom. And yeah, well, it's good to know that it's widespread and it's not a super obvious do this.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, there's no silver bullet there, right? There is no, somebody comes in and fixes a problem for you. And a lot of people, the many anti-patterns here, right? Creating a DevOps team or a transformation team who is responsible for it is an anti-pattern. If that team is the only team responsible for it, if that team is an enabling team, to use team topologies terminology, whose job is to enable others to transform or to adopt DevOps, then it is not an anti-pattern. But the anti-pattern we see is that, that guy, he's responsible for DevOps. You mean that means I'm not? So I just work as normal. What's going on here, right? Or he's VP of transformation. Oh, so I don't have to transform. He'll do it for me. Wonderful. He's the genie in the lamp who's going to come and change everything overnight. Well, that's not how it works, right? It's everybody or nobody.
Oh, that's good. That's good. There was another question for you, Sanjeev, that came in, but there was a couple on Hub that came out. One on integrating all change logs and does it work with Maven, but there was another one on release date. The folks that have signed up for Hub, when can they expect to get an email and get access to early release?
So the goal is the end of the month.
Okay.
So go sign up, and you'll get an email within a couple of weeks, and it's very simple instructions to get started, as you saw, but it's coming up very, very soon, end of the month.
Okay. And so, yes, works with Maven. Thank you, Mike, for answering that. And then does it integrate all change logs, Mario?
So in their very first release for early access is formatted SQL and XML, and soon after that, JSON and YAML.
Okay, all right. But if they have the parent-child set up with change logs, it's going to work.
It should. If they have
Okay.
XML parent, and then they have, yeah.
All right, cool, cool. So we've got two questions in chat. One from Dion. Does senior management at Truist, C-level, appreciate the importance of rapid quality software development? How does one build advocacy at this level so that they support with budget and culture? So how do we do top down? How do we start working on that?
It's an educational process, right, for top down, right? Also, it depends. And by the way, I'm not speaking for Truist here, so let's take that off the table. I'm speaking in general.
Yeah.
So don't read anything into it, right? I still like working here. In general, right? Here's the first question. So let's go back to my consulting days, right, which was till 2 months ago. And I enter a company. I've been brought in to do this transformation. I did a couple of these actually in the few months I was doing consulting. The first thing I'm trying to understand from whoever brought me in as this, who sponsored this transformation is, are they truly a technology company? Does the C-suite see them as a technology company? Is technology a cost center, or is it something they're investing in to grow in the market? Because that changes how we act, right? If they don't see it as a technology company and as a cost center, then the conversation will be very different. Because then we'll have to go and educate them on how doing these modernization processes, which require investment now, will actually save them money later on. Because that's the only thing they care about.
Yeah.
You know, you can't go make an innovation play there because that's not how they're looking at IT.
Yeah.
If they are an innovation-driven company, if they're a technology-driven company, right? You know, like there's a bank here in the US which says we are a technology company which happens to have a banking license. If they think that way, then it's a totally different conversation. Then we're going to show them that, you know, you need to transform today to be ready for, you know, 2 years down the road as to what kind of innovation you want to bring. You want to be able to, you know, out-innovate the fintechs. Who are the leaders in their industry? You know, who do you see as, do you aspire to be in the industry? And they need not be in your industry, somebody else. What are your targets? Because then we'll talk about things like the metrics, which Dr. Ferguson talks about in the Accelerate book, and say, you know, how do we go from, you know, a quarterly release to doing releases every week? Because then the conversation is very different. But either way, the answer to your question, Dion, is you need to educate them, the C-suite, but you need to educate them in the language they want to hear.
Yeah.
In the language and the vernacular they speak. Is there vernacular cost reduction? Is there vernacular survival? Is there vernacular innovation? Is there vernacular, we don't know? Tell us, you know, what vernacular are they looking for? And you have to speak that language to educate them. And, you know, you might not have access to them, in which case you need to figure out, you know, work your way up the food chains to get to the people who need to be educated, right there in the C-suite.
No, it makes sense. Thank you. We've got, looks like our last question here from Asha. And Asha, just like myself, has a little bit of cloud adoption jealousy. She says that what I've seen is for projects that work from the ground up, it's easier to adopt DevOps. Also, there are some conflicting priorities that come in the way of true DevOps adoption, and buy-in is a key thing. Her question is, I have seen a culture shift towards cloud adoption taking center stage compared to DevOps. How can one advocate for DevOps in such cases? I'm going to take a first stab at this, and I really would like to hear the team on this. But I would argue you can't get there from here without DevOps. We've got a customer that uses Liquibase. And it is a gaming company. And they were moving from on-prem Oracle Exadata VMware to AWS. And they realized that they were unable to move from a finite number of databases because they were limited by their on-prem infrastructure to infinity -1 with AWS. They couldn't go and have a DBA on every single update. They had to have some kind of automation. And so I would argue that, you know, DevOps is the cloud enabler. That's one of the things I like to say, that to get there, you know, you cannot continue doing software development, software releases the way you used to. if you're moving to the cloud, you need to take it as an advantage, take it as an opportunity rather, to improve. And that you will speed cloud adoption by adopting DevOps. Thoughts, feelings, arguments against that? What do y'all think?
I kind of like the idea of what Sanjeev said earlier, which is at large companies, you have a lot of status quo and people don't want to change. And I think you hook onto that opportunity to change. There's change afoot moving to the cloud, and you just tie into that and you make the opportunity to make a couple of improvements in the DevOps space. And I think that works. I've seen it work pretty well.
So speak their language.
I would argue that it's a wonderful thing that they're focused on cloud because they're going to fund it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Cloud is a strategic, imperative of the company that we're going to get out of our data centers and move to the cloud for whatever the reason might be. It's going to be well funded, right? Because it is not something which you can ignore once you start on that journey. And you cannot start on the journey without a plan to, especially if your goal is to totally move to the cloud, right? Not just move a couple of projects. Latch your DevOps transformation onto that, right? It's a train that's moving, it's powered, its locomotive is there, it's got the fuel. Attach the DevOps caboose to that train and, ride it all the way. Like Robert said, right? You cannot do cloud without DevOps effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Just make DevOps a prerequisite. And, this is something when I was CTO for DevOps at IBM, this is something I used to tell our sales team is that what's that compelling reason for somebody to pull through on the DevOps transformation? What is it? What's the train you can ride on?
Yeah.
Which is already going. Is there a transformation going on? Is there a merger going on? Is there a migration to cloud going on? Something which is enterprise well funded, sponsored by the senior executives. It answers that previous Dion C-suite question also. You're moving to cloud, why do you need DevOps? And you can't get to cloud, you won't be able to use it effectively unless you have DevOps, right? When you do 6 month releases in the cloud, what's the use of going to the cloud? So
why are you doing it? Because it's
get
cool.
on that train. Become a passenger on that train rather than creating your own train and laying down the tracks.
For sure. Well, I put up the slide here of how to get in touch with us if you have any questions. Asha says, great point. I started that with Liquibase for database that we're developing now. Good point to latch onto cloud during the migration. All right, cool. All right, so real-time feedback, doing the DevOps thing.
Yep.
So this is how to get in touch with us. Certainly the forums, Discord, Stack Overflow, use the Liquibase tag, Twitter, certainly Reddit, and of course, the always free learn.liquibase.com. Go ahead and get your certification for Liquibase fundamentals, put it on LinkedIn, go and flex on your coworkers. And that is that, folks. I think we are at the end. We have our community roundtable coming up on the 8th of October. And also we are going to have another community update on October 15th. And Kevin chatted about that previously. Any final words, thoughts, feelings you all want to share before we wrap it up?
Get in on Liquibase Hub. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, all the cool kids are there. Sanjeev, thank you so much. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks for having me, and thanks team for putting on a great show.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thanks.
All right, y'all. Thank you.
See y'all.